Hi, this is Ray Chen, and you're listening to Mike Delivers with Mike Biseglia. Mike and I met back in the day when we were both dating these two girls who were best friends in high school. We soon bonded over our love for the Mets and the Giants. Now we're both married to these girls, and come to find out, he has terrible taste in basketball. I mean, Mike, Tyler Olander has more national championships than Jim Boeheim.
Need more Mike Delivers? Head over to patreon.com or download the Patreon app and type in Mike Delivers. Get a full catalog of bonus podcasts like the one time Mike crashed his wife's 2007 Toyota Rav4, behind-the-scenes videos, and more food reviews. Go to Patreon and check it out now.
My name is Mike Biseglia. I'm 37 years old, and I use the Lawnmower 3.0. Use my promo code, Mike Delivers, all one word, and you can get 20% off plus free shipping on your own Lawnmower 3.0. What is the Lawnmower 3.0? It is an electric trimmer that cleans your ball hair. I recommend it, I use it, and it's helped my life tremendously. As a 37-year-old that's feeling bad about himself because he turned 37 and the age has turned a corner, the best thing I have going for me right now is the Lawnmower 3.0. Use my promo code, Mike Delivers, all one word, you get 20% off. You can even have mine. You can have my used Lawnmower 3.0.
Welcome inside. Mike Delivers from his wife's 2017 Toyota Rav4. Here's your host, Mike Biseglia.
That's right, this is Mike Delivers, episode number 73, and I'm your host, Mike Biseglia, and I'm coming to you from my wife's closet in Bloomfield, New Jersey. You can find this podcast where all major pods are found, including iHeart, Stitcher, Spotify, and of course, Apple Podcasts. And if you're an Apple subscriber and user, please give a 5-star rating and leave a comment. Those comments that you leave I will not only read them, I will sing them at the end of each and every episode. On this episode, we'll talk with Dean Blandino. He's the former NFL VP of Officiating, the current football rules analyst on Fox, and he is the host of the Good Calls podcast. How I met him online is very interesting. I'll share that in a couple of seconds. Big shout out as well to the O'Brien Creative Group. They are the guys that created and made my awesome, amazing logo that you see right here, the Mike Delivers logo. Different versions of it as well. Love the color scheme. It's just freaking beautiful. They've also done a great job if you've seen my food review videos for all the local spots in town. O'Brien Creative Group, with the gorgeous logo and the border that is on these videos that you can see on my social media. Love it. So thank you so much to the O'Brien Creative Group. And besides what you've seen visually, they do a great job with all the behind the scenes work, helping you push out your brand on different social media outlets. They do a great job in trying to get people and get their clients to understand, and this is what they do. It's more than just the podcast itself. It's the brand identity, because, now when you think Mike Delivers, it's bigger than just Uber Eats. So I've got to give a huge shout out to the O'Brien Creative Group. If you want more information on them, it's o'briencreativegroup.com, or just simply go to the show notes section of this podcast. You can see it right there. The question I put out on social media, which got some great traction: which food do you love hot but just despise as a leftover? I got some great answers to read, which I will do next week, but I want to leave the floor open for anybody that would like to leave a comment. Do that on the Apple Podcast comment section, or email me, MikeDeliversPod@gmail.com, and all of the social media aspects. You can do that, Mike Delivers Pod, all of the big social media ones. You can do that there. For me, I think it's hamburger. How nasty is it to have a cold hamburger the next day? Just sounds repulsive. And I have to be honest, I did not think of this question myself. I actually stole it from a former colleague. I took it from Doug Gottlieb. I saw it on Twitter, and I said, this is a great question. So I have to give him the proper shout out. It did not come from my brain. I took it from somebody else's. But still, please give your answers. I saw some really good ones, but I'll read those to you next week. Got a fun story about somebody that got a $100 tip. I'll tell you that at the end of the episode, as well as some Syracuse stories, which I will continue from my good man, Josh Guterman. But let me explain to you how I hooked up and met up with Dean Blandino, who again is the former NFL VP of officiating, and he's currently the rules analyst for Fox. You're like, how are we two connecting? Well, I did one of my food reviews in a video I put out there. It was the Rita's Ice, and I actually had from them the Black Cherry Blandini. And when I did the video, I kept calling it the Dean Blandino because Blandini sounded similar to me. So I put it on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and on IG, I actually tagged Dean Blandino, and he liked it and then followed me on Instagram. So I was like, all right, he's a good sport. He's got a good sense of humor about this thing. I want to have him on the podcast now, and we can chat about all things food. Just curious from his perspective, being the former NFL VP of officiating, going on the road, all these different places, and now working with Fox and everything that he has to do for them on NCAA football and NFL football. He's really busy on the weekends, and he's traveling a lot, so I thought there were some really cool food angles that we could go down with Dean Blandino. So that's how we met up, and he was nice enough to come on this podcast, so I do appreciate it. Again, here we go. Here is the former NFL VP of officiating, the current football rules analyst for Fox, and he's the host of the Good Calls podcast, my conversation with Dean Blandino.
Thanks for having me. It was, to my surprise, when I saw this clip of this guy that I had never met and had never seen before, and he was doing an Italian ice review, which I love, by the way, and I found out that I had my own Italian ice, so I was excited about it.
That's right. Yeah, it was Rita's Ice. It's a spot they're all over the country and mostly in the East Coast, but my wife and I are doing these food reviews, and it was, now I don't even remember the name. I'm just thinking it was the Dean Blandino Ice, but it was like the Cherry Blandini, and I'm doing the review, and your name just popped in my head. It was delicious, by the way. I have to let you know.
Well, that's what I was holding my breath, because when you said my name, when I watched it, and I was like, oh, please, I hope this is good. I hope it doesn't, it's not really bad.
No, it was fantastic and delicious. So you grew up in the Long Island area, correct?
Yeah, I'm from the East Coast, grew up in New York, Long Island. And when I made the move to Fox Sports, I moved out to LA. So I'm on the West Coast now.
So there has got to be then, from your perspective, living on the East Coast growing up, just thinking back to some of those food memories from you and your childhood. What are some of the specific ones when you think Long Island and growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in an Italian-American household, so food was a really big deal, and Sunday dinners and everything else. But, I remember there was always around the corner from our house, it was Kono's Pizza was the first iteration. And that pizza place, I feel like it was probably 5 or 6 different owners over the course of the 20 years that I lived there. And we were always going around the corner to get a slice and those types of things. And then, there was just in our neighborhood, there was so many, Italian restaurants, Chinese takeout. It was, the biggest thing that just now that I'm in LA, that there's so much really great Mexican food out here, whereas growing up in Long Island, we didn't have that. So it's been a nice change for me, something that I wasn't used to growing up.
Now, I know like a big controversy for everybody is we'll talk about pizza. Oh, my pizza's the best. This pizza's the best. How is the West Coast pizza game? Have you found it?
I mean, I love pizza, and I consider myself a connoisseur, but I'm not a pizza snob. So, obviously I'm partial to New York style pizza, but, there's good pizza out here. They always say like it's the water and the dough, and that's what makes New York pizza so good, and how it rises or whatever it is. But you can get good pizza out here. But I've got two young sons and 9 and 5, and there's a chain pizza place out here called Fresh Brothers that we like, and we'll order from there, once or twice every couple of weeks, and we enjoy it. So you can get good pizza out here. It's the same thing with bagels. There's the kind of the New York bagel and the LA bagel, but you can find really good bagels out here too.
All right. If you're going to order and you're getting your pizza, what are the toppings for you and your family?
I'm pretty plain when it comes to pizza. I just like just cheese. I'm not a big, topping guy. If I am going to go toppings, I'll usually, I like maybe, like a veggie pizza, mushrooms, olives. My sons tend to lean more towards pepperoni, but I'm just more of like a cheese guy. But the thing I miss the most is probably a good New York Sicilian, just cheese. But that's whenever my family, my mom, sister, and brother are all still living in Long Island. So whenever I go visit, we always order some pizza and I can reminisce a little bit.
Yeah, that's something I've actually started to get more into, and I wasn't as into it when I was younger, but I'm starting to, respect and enjoy a slice of Sicilian a little more. I think what did it for me when I was younger, I had like a really bad slice of Sicilian, and It took me years. I mean, like 30 years to get through my anxiety of trying it, where the slice was just like too much dough and like bad cheese. And I was like, why do people like this? But if you find it good, I mean, it can really be fantastic. Yeah,
absolutely. That's like me and like cauliflower. I was growing up, I hated cauliflower, and I feel like cauliflower now has had a renaissance. It's had a rebirth where growing up, I remember it was like, oh, cauliflower. Now it's like, oh, you can get cauliflower everywhere in different ways and all these different types, and it's amazing. So I've got over my cauliflower fear.
That's good to hear. Yeah, cauliflower's crazy. It's like, I'm going to have cauliflower mash. I'm going to have cauliflower crust as a pizza.
Yeah. They do like barbecue wing style cauliflower. It's insane.
Yeah, that's something that's crazy. So I'm curious as well, for you working for Fox, you're obviously ultra busy on the weekends. Before these games and then after these games, first part, what are you eating so that to make sure that you're just like revved up, ready to go and have energy? And then the second part of it is, once the day is over and you can just kind of like decompress for a second, what's the meal where you're just like, stressful day, time to get to it?
Yeah, so I'm not a breakfast guy. I do like breakfast. I don't eat it on a regular basis. So, I'm usually in the studio Saturdays for college football. First game starts at 9. NFL's first game starts at 10 out here. So I'm not eating much before. And really, honestly, and goes back to my NFL days, what keeps me going is I'm a peanut M&M addict. And I've got like a real problem. And quarantine hasn't helped. We were talking, my oldest son, Luca, he's 9, and I've picked up 2 packs of party-sized peanut M&Ms. And yesterday we just finished them, and party-size, I mean, those are the big, those are the only ones that are share. Like for me, that's a sharing size. Anything smaller is not a sharing size. And we just finished them yesterday. And I said, Luca, when did we get these? And we went back and figured out the math, and it was 10 days. 10 days, and I'm eating the majority of them, so it's a problem. And so I'll just pick at peanut M&Ms most of the day. But then, so Fox provides food, so they'll cater food, and it's usually pretty good, and it's different things like it could be a chicken dish, could be a fish dish, it could be something beef. But then we'll order because if it's a long day, college football sometimes can be. First kickoff is 9 a.m. and then we may have a 7 p.m. kickoff. So we're there, and so we'll usually order late, and it's a variety of just really just poor choices is what I call it. It's great, but it's probably not long-term health-wise. It's the Taco Bell and the Popeyes and just the fast food late night binge that we tend to go for.
Yeah, poor choices can be fun in doses. I have to hear you. Yeah. I hear you with that. So with these peanut M&Ms, where did the addiction start? And will you ever venture off and try something like the pretzel style, or just straight M&M?
It's a good point. So growing up, I didn't like the peanut M&Ms. I don't know what it was. I was a regular M&M kid. And then I don't know, when I was at the NFL and we would work like long hours on Sundays and we just, we would have snacks, and I just started getting into peanut M&Ms and now like I can't I can't imagine my life without them. I've tried all the others. I know M&Ms, you've got the peanut butter M&Ms and you've got the pretzel and caramel but nothing really compares for me. I think this is something I remember this has happened to me probably, not that I've been flying recently, but as recently as 6 months ago when I had a run of probably 3 to 4 flights in a couple of weeks where there was a peanut allergy on my flight. And I had a bag of peanut M&Ms ready to go. And I was just like heartbroken because obviously I wasn't going to put the person with the peanut allergy at risk, but it was just, 3-4 hours on a flight. And you got those peanut M&Ms in your backpack. It was tough, but I made the sacrifice.
Yeah, it's like, there's the head of the VP of Officiating. Well, I guess from a couple months ago, there's that guy on Fox. He's trying to get us with his peanut M&Ms. Don't trust him. I don't like his calls that he makes on TV. Yeah. And now he's hurting me with these M&Ms.
Exactly.
People are funny. All right. So then how about traveling? You're out in LA now, but when you were with the NFL and maybe you were doing a little bit more traveling, was there a city that you were surprised with how good the food was, or something you hadn't tried before and you're like, wow, this is a cool dish. I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, throughout my years at the NFL, just being able to travel to all those cities that I didn't travel a bunch when I was younger. So I didn't get to experience basically throughout my career at the NFL. I got to experience all these cities. And so, I remember the first time I was in, New Orleans for a game, and it was like the world of food opened up. It's just, what is this? Trying different types of, Cajun food and all the different types of seafood. A couple of the cities that I've been to that I've been just pleasantly surprised. I go to Detroit and I had Detroit style pizza for the first time. And there's a chain of pizzerias called Buddy's and I didn't even know what Detroit style pizza was.
Yeah, it's good.
It's really good. And it's square and it's more of a, not quite Sicilian, but it's a thicker crust. And so, trying that, Seattle, all the different types of seafood and going to the fish market. It's so many great cities. And then of course, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, the barbecue, brisket, all of that. It's really, when you go with NFL officials and you go in typically the night before, 2 nights before, and you go and get to experience a little bit of that city. And it's been a lot of fun from a food perspective.
Now, this one might be more difficult to answer, but was there an arena or a stadium, I should say, that had like a media spread that was like, wait a second, this is like a legit meal right here?
Yeah, there were. It definitely ran the gamut. There were some where it was just, this is not great, and it was kind of like leftover sandwiches, and then others. I remember Tampa, Raymond James Stadium has a fantastic spread. I mean, there was, you'd go for a 1 o'clock kick in early games, and they have like an omelet station, and they had,
wow.
It was really just, and I know it's still like that. A couple, a lot of the newer stadiums coming online have really good. But I just remember Tampa when they opened up Raymond James, it was the league they kind of set a new bar for that pregame spread. And then of course in Baltimore, probably one of the favorite stops for game officials, because they'll bring crab cakes to the officials' locker room after the game, and they're phenomenal. Yeah. And they do it in the press box as well. And obviously Baltimore, Maryland, crab cake, it goes together, but really just really good crab cakes. And that was one of the places, I can't remember. I wish I could remember the name. It was something seafood, and it was in the Baltimore area, and we used to go there for whenever we would do games, and it was really amazing. I just can't remember the name.
It's all good. That's really cool that they would do that, because I have to imagine as an official on the field on a Sunday, the prep that goes involved and getting ready, and then being out in the hot sun all day, or the freezing cold, or everything in between. I mean, it must be just such a relief when the day is over and that crab cake is sitting in front of you. I can't think of like a more enjoyable moment.
Yeah. It's funny because we spent a lot of time when I first started at the NFL, and it's just, how it has evolved. You think about diets and nutrition and everything else, just how much we've come, how far we've come. And when I first started the NFL in the mid '90s, I mean, game officials weren't really, focusing too much on their diets and hydration and all of that. And now it's just really important, to get a good pregame meal. And so that's why if you're going to a stadium where maybe the pregame meal is not as good, they'll, bring their own, and whether it's something, protein drink or something that's going to help get you through. Because with game officials, players, they play and they exert a lot of energy, but they're not playing every down, and they're going to the bench. Officials are out there the entire game. They do run around quite a bit, and it's important that they stay hydrated, they have enough energy, and then, even during halftime, just to kind of get something, a protein bar, an energy bar, that'll get them through the second half.
And then I guess you would recommend just stuffing some peanut M&Ms in your pocket. You can kind of just pop those as you're going on.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would do. That's how I would get through the game. 3 hours, figure I'm probably 2 to 3 peanut M&Ms every 15 seconds. I don't know, do the math. It probably, it's peanuts, it's energy. You're going to burn it off. It's a very healthy alternative in my view.
Exactly. All right. Now go into the Uber Eats game or DoorDash game or any of those third-party apps. Is there a spot in LA now that you like to order from? This could be, pre-pandemic as well. It doesn't have to be now where a lot of meals are now coming in, but more normal lifestyle when things were 3-4 months ago, a place you like to order from.
Yeah. So, obviously, like you said, there's more ordering and takeout and delivery now, but even before, there's a couple really good sushi places. I'm in Santa Monica, and there's some really great spots. So there's one called the Sake House that we'd order from. We order from quite a bit. There's actually a really good, and I've only seen them in LA, but I don't know if they're in other areas, but it's Toca Organica, and it's a vegetarian Mexican, and I'm not I'm nothing against vegetarians, but that's not how, I didn't grow up that way. It's not something that I follow strictly. So I was a little bit skeptical, and it's really good. Burritos and everything that you would get in a normal Mexican restaurant. It's just they'll use like some soy-based products and some other meat replacements, but really good fresh ingredients. So we'll order from there, and then I mentioned Fresh Brothers earlier. If we're in a pizza mood, that's our go-to for ordering, that's pretty much, those are the go-tos when we get delivery.
Something that I like to ask everybody that comes on my podcast, and it's like a big thing for me, and we get a lot of different answers, or basically in 2 different directions. So I'm curious, and I know I do that setup like it's going to be this hard-hitting question, but when you get a meal, and we'll exclude sushi because it probably doesn't work for that, but if you get something that needs to be reheated, will you reheat it, or just open that bag and dig in?
I'm a reheat guy. I was never
good answer.
Yeah, I was never like just grab the cold pizza out of the fridge and eat. It was always, reheating it either in the oven or the microwave, depending on how much time I have. So I'm not a cold leftover guy. I'm a reheat guy.
All right, that's good to hear, because that's been like a big topic, and sometimes I take it to the extreme. We had lobster rolls, and I reheated it, and I was like, that was a bad idea, because then I was like, I'm eating lobster rubber, but I get obsessed with that reheat. There's something for me personally that if I'm eating a meal cold that came from a restaurant to my house, I'm like, I spent, $50, $60 for all this food. It's got to be hot for me. So I'm on board with you on that. I'm glad to hear that.
I agree. And some foods, like you said, some foods lend themselves better to reheating than others, but I'm definitely going to reheat it.
What's the one food that you think, you love hot, but then if it was like a leftover, you're like, I can't even stand this, but you have to enjoy it as a, normal temperature. And then when it gets to the leftover stage, you're like, I can't even touch this.
That's a good one. So, like I said, I'm just cold pizza. Not that I love pizza in any shape and form, but I'd pass on cold pizza if I couldn't heat it up. But I don't hate it. I'm trying to think, what I would just be like. I mean,
like for me, like a cold hamburger is just repulsive. Well, I love a burger, but cold, no.
Cold beef, cold meat, it just doesn't, that's disgusting. I can't, there's nothing, like I don't like to waste food, but the idea of just a leftover hamburger to me, I would definitely have to heat it up. I like mine more like on the medium rare side. So then when you heat it up, you're kind of changing the temperature. So I'm finishing the burger. I'm like, listen, even if there's too much, I'm going to finish it and we're not going to have to deal with that problem tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with you. Sometimes you'll get the burger, and if it's in the next morning, like all the fat that comes to the top, and you have to take a knife, and then you'll have to like peel off this layer of fat that's not flavor anymore.
Or fries, like cold fries. There's nothing good about that. They're not crispy. They're not. There's nothing good about cold French fries.
Well, I can give you some advice as an Uber Eats driver, and I've done testing on this. The French fry is the worst food to get delivered.
Oh.
It gets cold instantaneously, and then it's just never the same if you try to reheat it.
I agree 1,000%. That's why, what do you do when you go to a drive-thru and you go to Burger King or McDonald's or Wendy's or whatever it is? Mm-hmm. You're immediately grabbing the fries. Like, I'm not getting home. Like, I'm eating the fries immediately because they just came out of the fryer, and that's when they're going to taste the best. And usually those fries are what you ordered. You're not, when you walk in the door, if you're taking it home, there's going to be some fries missing.
How are you with Uber Eats drivers and tipping? What's your protocol with that?
My friends get not mad at me, but I'm like I over tip. Like, it's just, I worked in restaurants, I bartended, I waited tables. So I understand like the whole tipping thing. I think in this country, I think we've probably gone a little bit overboard with tipping when you go to a self-serve yogurt spot and there's a tip jar. Like, what did you do over and above and beyond to earn this tip? But it's
right.
But yeah, I tip. I tip everybody. That's like a big thing for me. So Uber Eats, the drivers, I'm always, I'm like in the 25 to 30% range most of the time. And you could be really bad and I'm still going to tip you, which I know defeats the purpose, but it makes me feel better. So it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good to hear. And I, like you, doing this has changed my perspective. Like now when I go places, I'm not even just saying restaurants, but like you used a good example. If I go to a bar and I went to bars and I wanted to tip somebody and before it was like $2, like I'm now going maybe $5. And it's interesting how it changes your perspective, doing that. I was just emailing with a guy, an Uber Eats driver, and somebody just gave him $100 bill out of his pocket, which is a next level.
That's
insane,
next level. But that's now you're trying to big time. That's, but, and I always think about that because sometimes you'll get like, and this was the dilemma for me, like staying in hotels, like, and so I would you tip the house cleaning. And so I'd leave like money on the pillow, and there were times when I didn't have change and I was checking out and I felt, so I would suck it up and just leave a 20. And so I know that person that came in was like probably ecstatic, but it probably ruined everything going forward because now now that they're not either getting nothing or the $1 or $2. And now I set them up for disappointment.
That's a fair point. Now, how about, and maybe once you're on the road all the time, it all blends together, but was there a hotel that had a restaurant or a hotel that had room service that was a favorite meal of yours? Or was it just kind of all blended together at the end of the day?
It kind of all blends together. There was a point where I was because the NFL has a deal with Marriott. So we were staying in Marriott's. And so I literally, like the Dallas Fort Worth Airport Marriott North, it was like my second home at one point. I mean, because we were doing Cowboys games. It felt like we were having every meeting because Dallas is centrally located. And I'd be there like 15, 16 nights a year. And, I really liked the wings, the Marriott wings. I mean, they just like, I would look forward to just ordering an order of wings at room service or going down to the bar and getting some wings. So it kind of all melts together, but, so there wasn't one that jumped out with an amazing meal. I just remember Marriott wings being something for a while there. I was pretty partial to.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. My wife's on the road a lot for what she does for work, and she would say like there was something about like there's certain hotels she would repeatedly go to, and the consistency of knowing I'm going to get this meal, I'm going to get this drink, and it just kind of brings a little bit of familiarity to something when you're not at home, but makes it almost feel like you're pseudo home. So I totally hear that. How about this question like is an unrealistic world, but if it's a Sunday and it's an NFL, and I ask this to everybody, and you were like just at home as a fan and just kind of sitting on your couch and hanging, what would be kind of your go-to Sunday routine if you could to bring home to watch some football?
Yeah, I mean and I know that's a good question for me just to think about that. I haven't had many Sundays at home in 20 something years because I've just been a part of the NFL for a long time. And so I don't have a lot of experience just sitting at home on a Sunday and watching games. I go back to when I worked at the NFL, which really would have been college. And then it would have been, it would have been pizza or wings or Taco Bell. So, I don't know, like I'm looking forward to a Sunday where I don't have to go into work and I'm like thinking about what I would order and what I would have. It's just, I'm not even sure at this point because it's been something that I haven't done in a long time.
Have you had to work on Thanksgivings in the past?
Yeah. And what's been nice is, so when I was at the NFL, I was working every Thanksgiving and we would actually, so the NFL at the office, we have there's Game Day Central, and that's where all the replay reviews go back to. So my last couple of years at the NFL, we would actually we'd invite the families and, the people that were working, and we'd cater in Thanksgiving meals from like a local Whole Foods, and we'd get turkey and everything else, and we would do a spread and it was funny. And this, I don't know if I've told this story. So maybe it's not breaking news because it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, but I think it was 2016 and it was Thanksgiving and it was the early game, which would have been the Lions and somebody. And we had to heat up. We got this food from Whole Foods and we wanted to heat up, like the mashed potatoes. And so we pulled a microwave from out of one of the pantries, in an office building, you'll have like a break room, right. And there was a microwave. And so we took the microwave, plugged it in, but they plugged it in to the same outlet, the same circuit that the replay system was plugged into. And when they turned the microphone on, the whole thing went down. So we were down for maybe 2 minutes while they fixed it. And the game was going on, but thankfully we didn't have any replay reviews. But we kind of shut down the system because we wanted to heat up the stuffing for Thanksgiving in the microwave. But yeah, so now the move to Fox Sports, I don't go in. I don't have to go in on Thanksgiving. So it's been great to be home and do more of the traditional Thanksgiving at home.
Hey, as somebody that loves Thanksgiving and loves Thanksgiving meals, if I was sitting at home, I would be like, what? I respect that. I don't care if we don't have this call here. We don't need. I need to have my mashed potatoes and stuffing at the perfect temperature. I would completely understand.
Exactly. I think
maybe I'm in the minority there.
America would have understood.
Yes, exactly. Well, Dean, I appreciate you taking some time. I could talk food with you all day. It's been a lot of fun. There's two questions I end all my podcasts with. So you just have to be honest with me, and that's the deal. Yeah. All right. So the last 7 days from right now, best thing that you ate?
Ooh, okay, so like a lot of people during quarantine, we've been just trying different things at home, and I do like to cook, and I'm actually thinking about maybe doing my own cooking channel, and so we'll definitely, if I can get that up and running, I'll come back on and we can talk about that. But
nice.
So just been trying different recipes, and so the best thing I've had in the last 7 days is we tried. And this is something that I grew up eating, but I actually I saw a Gordon Ramsay recipe and just kind of put my own twist on it. It was chicken parmesan, and we made it, and like I said, I followed Chef Ramsay's recipe and added a little bit of my own take to it, and it was really good. That was the best thing. And I'm getting pretty good, but I'm still not like, there's some recipes that just don't work out, and this was one that everything came together and it all just really worked out. So I'd have to say that.
Very nice. Well, bonus then question: is there a food network or a food celebrity that you enjoy watching the most?
Yeah, I would say I do enjoy Gordon Ramsay, but I'd say probably we've gotten into, my boys and I, and like a lot of Americans, Guy Fieri, and so we'll watch like episodes of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, and so we enjoy watching him and the different foods and things that he that he tries, and we're making a list of places we want to go visit based on some of the things that he's done when we're able to get out and things open up again. So I'd say Guy is probably my favorite.
All right, I lied. I'm going to ask another one because you're triggering questions in my head, so I apologize for that. But it's interesting stuff. Let's say it's a long day and, wife, kids are away, and it's just you. What's the meal that's just for you that you're going to make yourself or order out for yourself, and you don't have to worry about anybody else?
If it's just me and I just want to, there's probably a couple, honestly, here's another one that I've done recently. The other thing, other than just doing more cooking at home, is kind of just ordering some stuff from out of state. And so talk about pizza. I ordered, if you're familiar with Lou Malnati's, which is in Chicago, which is a deep dish. And I've been to Chicago a ton of times and been to the restaurants. But I'd never done it. And I went on, there's a website, Taste of Chicago, and I ordered a bunch of deep dish pizzas from Lou Malnati's, and they're so good. And I mean, they just literally, they come in like dry ice and you pop them in the oven for 30-35 minutes. And it's like you're right out of the oven at the restaurant. So I would say cool. If I would order, I would do like an everything, something with a lot of toppings, and just pop that in and just eat the whole thing and then not move for the next 3 hours.
I like that. And then finally, last question for you, and just be honest with me. That's all I ask is 6 months from now, let's just hypothetically say you're getting married and you're sending out your wedding invitations. Are you inviting me to your wedding?
Absolutely. I'm inviting you to the wedding. And we're going to do, I want you to rate the food. I want you to rate the catering. I want you to rate the whole setup. So yeah, absolutely. You're in.
Dean Blandino. Dean, thank you so much for hopping on Mike Delivers. I appreciate it.
You got it, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dean. Enjoyed our conversation. We'll have to do it again. Hopefully we will have some football to talk about in the future. Who the hell really knows? I thought it was also interesting when he talks about, that on a Sunday, he hasn't really thought about what his dream meal would be because he's been so busy for so many Sundays. Just on the fact that how many of us, all we do is think about what we're going to do on Sundays to eat. So that dream scenario never even crossed the mind of Dean Blandino. But thank you, Dean, for hopping on this episode of Mike Delivers. Let's get to another SU story from my past. Josh Guterman, one of my great friends back at Syracuse University. What story do you have for us this week?
One night, Mike, Adam, and I went to a house party that was in the attic of a friend's house. And while we were there, we met this girl who, her way of flirting was trying to teach us sign language. And we were really drunk, and we thought it was hilarious, and there was nothing else to do, so we kind of kept talking. And I think she tried to teach us 20 or 30 different things in sign language that night. And I will tell you, 15 years later, I can still say I'm drunk in sign language. That's a true Syracuse story.
Something I mention all the time on this podcast is how important tips are to delivery drivers. So shout out here to David Groves, who emailed me. Again, you can email me, MikeDeliversPod@gmail.com, if you're a delivery driver and you've got a story. But here's his story. Tonight was the first time I've done Uber Eats in probably 2 or 3 weeks because I've been doing mostly Instacart and DoorDash because the money was better. I got a Chinese food delivery that pays $9 and is about 15 miles away. The order was just a simple order of General Tso's chicken and egg rolls. When I got there and took the order to the door, the customer had me wait a second. I presumed what I was getting was a tip. Then he came back and handed me a $100 bill. He told me if he could have found his wallet or wanted to look for his wallet, he would have given me a $50. But since he didn't want to look for it, he gave me $100. So thank you to David Groves for sharing that story. $100 tip, a bill. Phenomenal stuff. Congrats, David. I'm sure very much deserved in this wild time of doing deliveries. Really cool to hear. I want to thank everybody who was a part of this podcast. Next week, episode 74, all part of May Madness. My wife and I will be trying from Subway, the spicy Italian. That episode will drop on Thursday. Thank you to Dean Blandino, the former NFL VP of Officiating, current football rules analyst for Fox. Thanks for hopping on this episode. Josh Guterman for his story about my time at Syracuse University, and David Groves for sharing that sick story of $100 tip. That is awesome. Everybody stay safe out there. Everybody be good out there. Hopefully we can get back to some normalcy in a short amount of time, but I continue to say thank you for this awesome opportunity to share my voice. This podcast has been a blast, and you guys seem to really be enjoying it, so thank you. You heard that cool commercial I put together in the beginning. Mike Delivers on Patreon. Bonus content, people. Go get it. Find out how I destroyed, crushed, crashed my wife's 2007 Toyota Rav4, and a backlog of about 10 episodes now on there of bonus content of Mike Delivers. Thank you to Beautiful Noise. They're the music you hear right now. This podcast would not be the same without them. They are the soundtrack to this podcast. This has been episode number 73. We'll see you next time for episode number 74. Where they at? 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 Where they at now? If you want to go and take a ride with me, we've willing in the foe with the gold D's. Oh, why must they live this way? Hey, must be the money. If you want to go and get high with me, smoke a L in the back of the Benz E. Oh, why must I feel this way? Hey, must be the money. In the club on the late night, feeling right, looking, trying to spot something real nice, looking for a shorty hot so that I can take home. I can take home. She'd be 18 with an attitude, 19 kind of snotty, acting real rude. Boo. As long as they're thick, girl, you know that it's on. Know that it's on. The peeps come to the dance floor, sexy real slow, saying to people and to dig the last video. So when Nelly can you go? How can I tell no? Her measurement 36, 25, 34. I like the way you brush your hair, and I like those stylish clothes you wear. I like the way you hit the ice, it's glare, and I can see you over there. Come on. If you want to go and take a ride with me, we willing in the foe with the gold D's. Oh, why do I live this way? Hey, must be the money. If you want to go and get high with me, smoke a L in the back of the Benz E. Oh, why must I feel this way? I may have done this one. I can't remember. Have I sung this? Have I sung this on an episode? Fuck, I have no idea.